Well, we're here at the 2022 NWTF convention, and I tell you what, it's good to be back.
It's good to be back. Of course, we missed last year, but the crowd's been pretty good this year, and people wanting to get back and talk about turkey hunting and turkey calling, and that's what we've done today. We just got through doing a seminar and had a good turnout and a lot of interested people wanting to know about the tube call. And
you know, tube calls are nothing new.
No.
You come out with one of the first tubes that I know anything about back in the 70s with in Night and Hail, and being a long time pro staffer with Night and Hail, I've been around tube calls for a long time, trying to learn as much as I could from you.
well, you've not only learned all I know, you done surpassed me. Now I'm trying to learn back from you.
Well, I tell you, we've learned from each other, I guess. But you know, I love a good tube call, and tube call is so important in the woods. Is not only a locator call, but I mean, it sounds like a turkey.
Well, it's unfortunately we not out in the woods calling, but tube call is a call that does sound better out. But you know, most calls do.
That's right.
And it's not just a tube call, but you know what I'd like to you to show the people today, and we'll show the people today that you know a lot of versatility to the tube call. It to me, Mark, it's not the best finishing call, but it's certainly a good locator call, and it's a great call to add to your
It's a good another tool in the
Yes,
toolbox.
it does. It's days that I won't even use a tube call. There's days I really rely on it to find a turkey.
That's right.
And that's something that, and you know, as many places I hunted all over the United States, my gosh, some of them, boy, they love a tube call. And I still use one at home a lot. And
well, I started carrying a tube call just to gobble on. And, you know, I mean, a tube call will do as good a gobble as any call there is. And then I started realizing, you know, that they were really liking the yelp on it. So I started yelping on it and cutting on it and everything else. And it's just so versatile.
well, what you've learned to do, Mark, you've learned to put some rasp in that tube call, which I think it's really helps the sound of it, and it sounds like a turkey. And you know, for years we didn't have enough rasp in that call, but we learned how to tune them, learn what thickness rubber to put on them, and that is very important to make that call sound raspy.
It is. But I tell you, I designed these tubes from what I learned from you and David, and over the years of playing with tube calls. And I tell you, after coming and spending more and more time with you and talking about it over the phone and everything else, because we live so far apart, I think we might be on to something. I think it's a good sounding call.
Well, I tell you what you do. You started off by giving that sort of locating sound, like you give it that cluck and raspy sound, you know, like you're going to locate one.
All right. What I would do a lot of times is, especially midday or even afternoon, when everything just seems to slow down and there's not much going on, and maybe hadn't heard a lot of response. And it's a loud call, and that's what we want to do. But I'll just kind of, and it's important to listen. So I'll do it real quick, and then I will listen and see if I can get a response. And if not, I probably will get a little bit more aggressive, and then try to get one fired up. And that's happened many times. And then I'm gonna listen. And if I don't hear one, most time he's gonna gobble. But
And the reason that you stopping there, because that turkey might have gobbled during that yelp, you could hear him.
exactly, I think a lot of people call right through a gobble, and
Yeah.
especially if he's a long way off and you don't hear it.
I've done it with crow calls and owl calls also.
And if you do hear it, you can't tell where it's at.
Right.
So, but I'll if I don't hear anything, I will get a little bit more aggressive, and I'm gonna do a little more cutting, and just try to fire him up. And usually that does, if
That
he
sounds
ain't
good.
there, it might be time to
That sounds
go
good.
somewhere else.
And, when you fire him up, that's when you can put your favorite call. It might be a trumpet call, it might be a little slate call, it might be a mouth call.
That's
But
right.
you finish him up with that. You've got him located, and he ain't wanting to hear that stuff when he gets in close.
No,
He's wanting to soften that call up.
that's right.
I have called him all the way with a tube call, but most of the time, when I have one to answer this tube call, I'll finish him off with another call.
That's right. And I mean, my go-to is a trumpet, of course, but I'll run that tube call and then switch to the trumpet. And, a lot of times they're on the way. And you don't have, Turkey knows where you are. I mean, you don't have to keep telling him where you're at. If he's coming, he's coming.
I've got one here, your calls. The only difference is the color of the rubber. I think they're the same thickness.
They are.
Might be tuned just a little different, but, I take this call a lot of times and put a little rasp in it, and a little clucking.
Well, that sounds good.
Another thing you do, Mark, on the call, is I really like that you can imitate that gobbler and a Jake yelp. And I've always loved to hear that Jake yelp because I know that he's answering a gobbler strutting.
That's right.
And demonstrate that.
That's something I learned from you and David years ago. When you hear that old Jake cow, a lot of times he's honoring a gobbler right there. And, sometimes, like you say, it takes a second to warm it up. But that old Jake starts calking and right behind the gobble. Sometimes we do it right behind a gobble. Sometimes that gobbler's just standing there, may not do anything but strut and drum, and he'll do it anyway. That's that old calking. And then every now and then, I heard one just the other day, that old Jake started yelping. So they will, a lot of times they'll do that. They'll get fired up too.
Dragged out, yep.
That's right.
Yeah. But that's basically some of the sounds we use on that tube call. And I tell you what, it's not that hard a call to master, and we have a lot of questions asked. How do you tighten it or loosen the membrane on it? And that's an individual preference. It's not hard to do. Matter of fact, I just pull on just a little real lightly to get a little wrinkle in it. I don't want it real tight. And if you fool with it, you'll automatically learn where that rubber needs to be, or latex.
Well, I'll tell you something too. I like the O-ring, and you like the bands.
I've got both of them here.
And I designed the call so that it would take either one.
Yeah.
It's why I got a wide place for the band, but I've also got an O-ring groove. So it's whatever, the user prefers. It's easier for me to get it tuned with that, but you've been tuning them things for so long, you know exactly how you want it. So, the versatility of a tube call, it's just, it makes it so valuable because you can do so many things on it.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about the gobble, but that's one thing that I always used to carry it for, is gobbling, and have gobbled on it in competition, trying to imitate the gobble. And you can tune one of these just for gobbling. This one's tuned more for yelping, but it will gobble. And
if I was going to tune one just to gobble with, I'd have the latex about 7,000 to 8,000 versus a 4,000.
That's right. Yeah, this is 4,000ths, and it'll gobble decent, enough to make them think it's a gobbler. gobbler's running out of air.
Oh yeah, that's him. Yeah.
But you know, a lot of people ask me, they say, well, why would you want to gobble at a turkey? And you may not on public ground or a place where it isn't safe to do it, but you put a strutting decoy out there, so he's expecting that to gobble. And if he can't see it, if it's thick, and you don't have a decoy, or if you do have a decoy and you can't see it, you're just giving him audio instead of visual. Yep. So it works the same way. I've had them run to it. I've had birds that wouldn't come, and all of a sudden you gobble at him and he comes running. Makes him mad. He don't want another gobbler in his area.
I have gobbled turkeys up, and people say, man, I wouldn't want to do that. I'd be afraid of the safety aspect of it. And I never was concerned about that all that much. But, you know, if you, all you got to do in your turkey hunt is just identify your target and hope the other guy does. I'm not doing this as a safety seminar or nothing.
Right.
But, you know, avoid having red, white, and blue around out there. And,
that's right.
And I try to keep my red ears covered up at times and things like that. But anyway, you know, that basically is the tube call, turkey call.
That's right.
But you know what? You've got a goose call now, and Mark come to me wanting to learn to blow the tube goose call. And knowing Mark Prudhomme being probably the best all-around game caller in the United States, I knew he would master it, and he did. And now then, he's already surpassed me. So, but we're going to blow this tube goose call because I have used it many a time over the years in different situations, waterfowl hunting. I've got the waterfowl hunting a lot of geographical locations across the United States. And anytime I can find a woods that I can bounce this off of, echo off of, I'll have better luck. They can hear it better.
Well, what a lot of people may not realize is you won the world goose calling competition with a goose call.
And I think it's won several competitions since then, not by me, but other people
right.
that's mastered it.
Right.
And
because it sounds like a goose.
It sounds like a goose. It really sounds like a goose. And but let's demonstrate. And I'll start off just some basic goose sounds like. You know, then you fall in and sound like a drove of geese. You know.
Right.
But anyway, that's the tube goose call. And I tell you what, it's not the easiest call to master, but it's like if you learn to ride a bicycle, you can pick the sucker up and just learn what
that's right.
Then. But you got to learn to blow it, and you did. I watched you in the beginning, and you wasn't too good with it in the beginning. But by golly, you've already mastered that thing now. And
well, I got a long way to go to be good as you.
No, but anyway. The latex on the tube goose call, the difference of it is, it's not just the color, it's thicker. It's several thousand thicker than the turkey because you can get the volume on it. And you know, I was talking about a while ago, if I was going to gobble on it, you know, this year I hadn't even tried it, but you know, it's thicker, you know.
That's right.
You could gobble on it better.
That's right.
But I could tune that to gobble, and that's thicker latex, you know.
Right.
That's all it is.
I made the goose call a little bit longer because that's what you told me for a couple reasons. I think it gives it a little deeper tone, and also, you know, when it's cold and you got, you know, around your neck or whatever, it just gives you a little more to hold on to.
It does, and another thing you did too, Mark, you made it the hole just a little larger. Right. And it's just a little louder, I think.
I think it helps deepen it a little bit, and I think it makes it gives it a little bit more volume. That's something that I've been working on, and I'm glad you like it, and hopefully we'll get some more. We'll get some time together to maybe goose hunt this.
Well, maybe we can. And I'll let you call a turkey up for me anytime you want to. I'll say that. But you might want to tell the folks who's got some of these calls now.
Well, these turkey calls is you can go on the KT Team website. KT Team is an organization. Kerry Terrell's is the KT in there. Kerry and I were two-man team partners in competition calling for many years, and Kerry's friend and mine too is Jason Beard. Jason had a diving accident when he was younger and was paralyzed from the neck down, and he's been an inspiration to me and Kerry and everybody else. And Kerry and him started the KT Team to try to get folks in the outdoors that may not have opportunity to do so. And I really enjoy those guys. What they do is amazing to me, and it's a good deal. So if I can help them with those turkey calls, turkey tubes, that's what I want to do. And I just think it goes to a good organization.
It does. And what time I'm working out now, I told Mark was on my pro staff for many years, and one of my favorite people in the world. And I told him, I said, when I retire, and I have retired, you're one of the few people I want to help work with.
I appreciate that.
Help to start your business in game calls. And he's got a good start, and I've enjoyed your friendship, Mark, and listening to you calling. Brother, you are one of the best it is. I want you to know that.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, I feel like I've learned what I know from the best. So you certainly and David have helped me along the way, and I've enjoyed years of working with y'all for sure.